After the coup at Honnoji, Akechi Mitsuhide sent letters to warlords across the country, trying to win them over to his side. The most critical target was the Mori clan. If the Mori received the news and launched a full-scale attack on Hideyoshi from behind, Hideyoshi would be trapped and completely destroyed. So Mitsuhide dispatched a secret messenger to the Mori to keep Hideyoshi pinned down. But that messenger heading to the Mori was captured by Hideyoshi's force. The secret letter read, "Oda Nobunaga is dead. Akechi Mitsuhide has seized power. The Mori clan must attack Hideyoshi immediately." Hideyoshi is said to have personally cut down and killed the messenger to prevent the news of Nobunaga's death from spreading. Hideyoshi immediately shut down every road and communication route between his camp and the Mori forces. He deployed his entire surveillance network to capture all messengers and ensure that not a single rumor of what had happened reached the Mori side. At the same time, Hideyoshi acted as if nothing had happened and kept spreading false information that Nobunaga's reinforcements are arriving soon. Then, as if nothing were wrong, Hideyoshi proposed a peace deal to the Mori, and his terms were extraordinary. "This castle is on the verge of falling, but I cannot bear to see tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians slaughtered. If the castle lord Shimizu Muneharu commits seppuku, I will withdraw my army." The Mori side was suspicious. Just the day before, Hideyoshi had been aggressive and unyielding, and now he was suddenly offering generous terms. But Hideyoshi lied without flinching. "My lord Nobunaga is marching here with a massive army as we speak. When he arrives, the entire Mori clan will be wiped out. This is your last chance." When Shimizu Muneharu heard that his death alone could save his soldiers and his people, he accepted without a moment of hesitation. He wrote a letter of gratitude to his lord, the Mori clan, and quietly prepared to die. They had no idea that Hideyoshi was now the most desperate man in the world. If the Mori clan had known exactly what was going on at the time, they could have chased down Hideyoshi as he retreated in a panic and crushed his forces completely. And with the absolute powerhouse Oda Nobunaga now gone from the picture, the Mori clan had the perfect chance to rise up and become the Tenkabito, the supreme ruler of all Japan. It was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Shimizu Muneharu bathed and purified himself for his final ceremony. He dressed in pure white funeral robes. Then, accompanied only by his brother and a few kashindan, he stepped into a small boat. The boat glided to the center of the lake, stopping at the point where Hideyoshi's headquarters was most clearly visible. Muneharu straightened his robes, drew a short blade, and without a single moment of hesitation, cut open his stomach. To end his suffering, a kashin on the boat immediately severs his head. Hideyoshi ordered that Muneharu's body be recovered with full respect and given a proper funeral. And for the Mori clan, Muneharu became an eternal symbol of loyalty that saved the clan from destruction. Shimizu Muneharu's honorable death bought Hideyoshi the time he needed to race to Kyoto. Hideyoshi's retreat began immediately. His target was the capital, Kyoto, where the traitor Akechi Mitsuhide awaited. The distance was roughly 125 miles. Under normal conditions, that march would take more than 2 weeks. Every day Hideyoshi was late meant another day for Mitsuhide's power base to grow stronger. Hideyoshi had no time. Hideyoshi had already sent men ahead to every village along the march route with a simple offer. "Our army is coming through. Have rice balls and straw sandals ready, and we will pay you several times the normal price." His soldiers did not need to stop and cook. They ate rice balls while running and swapped out their worn sandals without breaking stride. They ran day and night, over 25 miles a day, a speed that was absolutely unheard of in that era. In just 5 days, Hideyoshi's vanguard arrived near Osaka. When Akechi Mitsuhide received the report that Hideyoshi's army was already there, he could not believe it. They had arrived 10 days earlier than he had expected. Shaken, Mitsuhide scrambled to gather his forces and set up a position at Yamazaki, a strategic point on the road to Kyoto. Hideyoshi's rallying cry, "We will avenge our lord," became a powerful cause that drew nearby Oda Kashindan to his side, each bringing their own armies. By the time the battle began, Hideyoshi's forces had swelled to nearly 40,000 men. Mitsuhide had only 16,000. After the coup at Honnoji, he had been certain that other daimyo would join him. But his greatest hopes, his own father-in-law, Hosokawa Fujitaka, and the influential Lord Tsutsui Junkei had all turned their backs on him and stayed silent. Nobody wanted to take the dangerous gamble of siding with a traitor. Mitsuhide was completely isolated. Mitsuhide himself was a brilliant administrator and a capable general, but he was the worst politician. He had succeeded in launching a rebellion, but he had completely failed to secure support afterward. His army had only its commander's ambition. There was no cause, no greater purpose to unite the hearts of its soldiers. The two armies clashed at Yamazaki. Hideyoshi's men had just sprinted hundreds of miles, but under the banner of Avenge Our Lord, their morale was sky high. Mitsuhide's troops, on the other hand, carried the shameful label of traitors who had murdered their own master, and their will to fight was weak. The outcome was decided in a flash. Hideyoshi seized the strategic high ground of Mount Tenazan first, and Mitsuhide's army completely collapsed within just a few hours of the battle's start. The Battle of Yamazaki was a fight between an exhausted army of iron will and a well-rested rabble. This battle proved that the cause in a soldier's heart matters far more than physical strength. Mitsuhide fled the battlefield, but in the end he met his pathetic and hollow demise in a nearby forest at the hands of Ochimushagari, the fallen warrior hunters looking to collect the bounty on his head. Akechi Mitsuhide had held power for exactly 11 days. In the Sengoku period, when a battle ended, another war began around the battlefield. It was the Ochimushagari, the hunting of fallen warriors. Ochimushagari was when peasants hunted defeated samurai, ambushing and robbing the losing stragglers. And here is what is truly surprising. This was not a crime. In the Sengoku period, it was an officially recognized custom. In Sengoku-era Japan, those who lost in battle were considered to exist outside the protection of the law. Taking their property or even their lives carried no punishment whatsoever. That was simply the accepted belief of the society at that time. There were two main reasons why peasants took part in Ochimushagari. The first was money. The armor the samurai wore, the swords they carried, the horses they rode, all of these were worth unimaginable fortunes to the peasants. Capturing just one straggler could earn them several years' worth of income. On top of that, if they cut off an enemy commander's head and delivered it to the winning side, they could receive not only a bounty but even a rise in social status. The second was rage. Whenever war broke out, it was always the peasants who suffered the most. Samurai armies marched through their land, trampling their rice fields, looting their grain, and burning their villages. For peasants who had lost everything they had harvested, hunting down defeated warriors was the only chance to pay back that fury. For a samurai who had lost a battle, Ochimushagari was a terror even greater than the battle itself. The moment they became a defeated straggler on the run, hundreds of peasants who knew every inch of the local terrain were already hiding throughout the mountains, waiting for them. After the Battle of Yamazaki, where the traitor Akechi Mitsuhide was struck down, Hideyoshi swept through the remnants of Mitsuhide's forces and seized total control of the Kyoto region. And now Hideyoshi held in his hands one undeniable truth that nobody could argue with. He was the man who had avenged his lord. That was his ultimate claim to power. But that alone did not give him control over the Oda clan, because standing in his way inside the Oda clan was the most senior Kashin of them all. And this man had built Nobunaga's empire alongside him from the very beginning. His name was Shibata Katsuie. If Hideyoshi could not secure his position during the process of choosing Nobunaga's successor, he would be stuck forever as just another Kashin among many. On June 27, 1582, a meeting was held at Kiyosu Castle in Owari that would decide the fate of the entire Oda clan. This was only 2 weeks after the Battle of Yamazaki had ended. The attendees were Shibata Katsuie, Niwa Nakahidai, Ikeda Tsunoki, and Hashiba Hideyoshi. These four men had gathered for one purpose: to decide who would be Oda Nobunaga's successor and how the clan's territories would be divided up. The meeting started with a clear confrontation. Shibata Katsuie, the mightiest warrior in the Oda clan, backed Nobunaga's third son, Oda Nobutaka. Hideyoshi supported the second son, Nobukatsu. The two sides were deadlocked. But then Hideyoshi suddenly made a cunning argument that caught everyone off guard. He said Lord Nobunaga already passed the headship of the family to his eldest son Nobutada back in 1575. So what we need to decide today is not Nobunaga's successor, but Nobutada's successor. And if you followed that logic, the answer became obvious. Nobutada's legitimate son, a child named Samboshi, had the strongest claim to the succession. On top of that, Hideyoshi emphasized that since opinions were split between the second son Nobukatsu and the third son Nobutaka, choosing either one could spark a bloody feud between brothers. He proposed that instead, they should name Samboshi, the legitimate grandson of Nobunaga, through his eldest son Nobutada, as the rightful heir. Hideyoshi's argument was a brilliant move that completely flipped the dynamics of that meeting. On the surface, it was flawless logic. Samboshi had the strongest bloodline claim as the legitimate son of the firstborn, and it neatly avoided the risk of a destructive conflict between the second and third sons. What most people in that room didn't know was that Hideyoshi had already cut a secret deal. Before the meeting even started, Nagahide was already on his side. And right there in the meeting, he won Ikeda Tsunoki over to his side as well. The final vote was 3-1. Samboshi was chosen as the heir to the Oda clan. But here is the thing. Hideyoshi's real intention was hiding in plain sight. The newly chosen heir, Samboshi, was a 2-year-old baby. If the successor was an infant who could not do anything on his own, then the real power would belong to whoever became his guardian. And Hideyoshi, who already controlled Kyoto, was positioning himself for exactly that role. But Hideyoshi's ambitions didn't end there. When it came time to divide up the Oda clan's territories at that same meeting, he made sure to claim the most strategic lands for himself. Hideyoshi claimed the prime territories of Kyoto in the Kinki region for himself. This area boasted the highest rice yields in all of Japan and was the economic heart of the country, perfect for collecting taxes from commerce and trade. Just as Nobunaga had seized this very region and used it as a springboard to become the supreme ruler of Japan, Hideyoshi had the exact same plan in mind. Shibata Katsuie was given the northern territories, including Echizen. On the surface, this seemed natural since those were the lands where he was already stationed. But the real strategy was hidden underneath. Hideyoshi placed his allied commanders' territories along every route between Shibata and Kyoto. He had blocked off every path Shibata could use to march south before the old general even realized what had happened. After the Kiyosu Conference ended, Hideyoshi single-handedly organized a grand funeral for Nobunaga in Kyoto. Hideyoshi alone took charge of his lord's funeral. This was essentially a public declaration to all of Japan. He was the true successor of the Oda clan. In the blink of an eye, Hideyoshi had become the man who avenged his lord Nobunaga, the man who chose the heir, and the man who honored the dead with a proper funeral. In the eyes of everyone watching, Hideyoshi was already looking like the real successor to Oda Nobunaga. Shibata Katsuie was not about to sit back and watch this happen. Hideyoshi was a man of lowly birth who had once looked up to Katsuie with admiration, and now this same man was pushing him aside and climbing to a position above him. That was something Shibata Katsuie simply could not tolerate. The Oda clan split into two factions. On one side stood Hideyoshi and his growing power. On the other stood Shibata Katsuie and his supporters. The second son, Oda Nobukatsu, who had secured territories in Owari and Ise with Hideyoshi's backing, sided with Hideyoshi. The third son, Oda Nobutaka, openly treated Hideyoshi as a rebellious servant who had risen above his station. He joined forces with Shibata Katsuie, the man who had supported his claim from the start. To cement his alliance with Shibata Katsuie, Nobutaka arranged a political marriage. He arranged a marriage between his aunt Oichi and Shibata Katsuie. Oichi was renowned as the greatest beauty of the Sengoku period, the age of warring states. She was Nobunaga's younger sister. After her first husband, Azai Nagamasa, had been killed, she had been living as a widow, raising her 3 daughters alone. Nobutaka used Oichi as the bond to tie Shibata Katsuie to the Oda bloodline, forming a united front against Hideyoshi. In December of 1582, as winter gripped the land, Nobutaka raised his army at Gifu Castle. He had Samboshi in his custody, which gave him the perfect excuse to claim he was protecting the legitimate heir of the Oda clan. But Nobutaka's offensive had one fatal problem. Shibata Katsuie's home base was in Echizen, and in the dead of winter, the roads were buried under heavy snow. There was no way to move an army south. Nobunaga was forced to face Hideyoshi completely alone, without Katsuie's main force behind him. Hideyoshi did not let this window of opportunity slip by. He swiftly secured Nagahama Castle and then marched toward Mino. The local lords under Nobunaga's command quickly surrendered to Hideyoshi one after another. Isolated and abandoned, Nobunaga could hold out no longer. He opened the gates of Gifu Castle and surrendered to Hideyoshi. As part of the terms, Nobunaga had to hand over Samboshi to Hideyoshi and even give up his own mother as a hostage. Hideyoshi chose not to kill Nobunaga, fearing it might provoke a backlash from other Oda Kashindan. But Hideyoshi had gained something far more valuable. By taking custody of Samboshi, the legitimate heir of the Oda clan, he now held both the justification and the actual power he had been after all along. He was the guardian of Nobunaga's grandson in name and in reality. In the spring of 1583, when the snow finally melted, Shibata Katsuie marshaled 30,000 troops and began his march south. Hideyoshi rode out to meet him with roughly 50,000 soldiers. The two armies faced off on opposite sides of Lake Yogo, northeast of Lake Biwa. Katsuie placed his fiercest general, Sakuma Morimasa, at the front line on Mount Gyoichi, while he himself set up his main camp further back at Uchinakaoyama. Hideyoshi's forces built fortified positions across the mountains along the northern shore of Lake Biwa. They secured Shizugatake, Iwasaki-yama, Tagami, and Oiwa-yama, and simply waited for the enemy to come to them. In the early stages of the battle, Katsuie's nephew and fierce warrior, Sakuma Morimasa, led 8,000 men in an assault on the Oiwa-yama fortress and captured it. Takayama Ukon, defending the neighboring fortress of Iwasaki-yama, realized the situation was hopeless. He abandoned his position and retreated toward Kinamoto. Now here is where it gets interesting. Hideyoshi had positioned 20,000 troops at Ogaki. When Shibata Katsuie learned that Hideyoshi's main force was stationed nearby, he immediately ordered Morimasa to pull back to Oiwa at once. But Morimasa calculated that it would take Hideyoshi at least 3 days to reach the front line. He ignored his uncle's order and attacked the fortress at Shizugatake instead. The distance from Ogaki to the Shizugatake front was approximately 32 miles. Hideyoshi's army covered that distance in just 5 hours. It was a jaw-dropping forced march. It echoed the legendary Great Return from Chugoku just 1 year earlier, when Hideyoshi had raced back from the Western Front to Kyoto after Nobunaga's assassination at Honnoji. History calls this incredible feat the Great Return from Mino. When Hideyoshi's forces arrived more than 2 days earlier than expected, Morimasa frantically broke off his assault and switched to a defensive posture. Just as Morimasa was trying to reorganize his troops and mount a counterattack, something decisive happened. Maeda Toshii, whose forces were positioned directly behind Morimasa, suddenly pulled his troops out of the battle line and withdrew from the field. Toshii and Hideyoshi had been close friends since their youth. They grew up together as Kashindan under Nobunaga. It is highly likely that Hideyoshi had reached out to Toshii beforehand and persuaded him to switch sides. And from Toshii's perspective, it was a cold but realistic calculation. He could see that Katsuie's chances of winning were slim. The moment Toshii's forces disappeared, the units behind Morimasa panicked. They assumed Morimasa had been completely defeated, and fear spread like wildfire. One commander after another abandoned the battlefield in a chain reaction. Morimasa's vanguard was utterly destroyed, and Shibata Katsuie's main force lost deserters at an alarming rate. Death was closing in. Katsuie's loyal Kashin, Menjo Katsuteru, grabbed the Uma Jirushi, the personal battle standard that identified a general on the battlefield. He charged toward Hideyoshi's army, deliberately drawing their attention. While Katsuteru bought time with his life, Katsuie himself barely managed to escape back to Kitanosho Castle in Ichizen. When Shibata Katsuie arrived back at Kitanosho Castle, he had a mere 3,000 soldiers left. Everyone inside those walls knew that Hideyoshi's army would be upon them soon. On that final night, Katsuie opened up whatever sake remained and threw a feast. He sat with his wife Oichi, their 3 daughters, and the loyal Kashindan, who had stayed with him to the end. They played music and danced together. It is said that it looked like a victory celebration. As the feast reached its peak, Katsuie turned to his wife Oichi and spoke. "You are the sister of Lord Nobunaga. Even Hideyoshi would not dare harm you. Take the 3 princesses and leave this castle." And Oichi answered him.
We married last summer, and that this has come to pass is simply fate. I made my resolve long ago. I will not abandon you, but our 3 daughters still have futures ahead of them. Please, let them go.
That night, the 3 daughters were sent out of the doomed castle, delivered straight into the hands of Hideyoshi's army. The eldest, Chacha, would later become Yododono, a concubine of Hideyoshi himself, and she would bear him a son named Hideyori. The youngest, Go, would one day marry Hidetada, the 3rd son of Tokugawa Ieyasu. Before long, the war cries of Hideyoshi's soldiers echoed over the castle walls. Shibata Katsuie held Oichi in his arms and drew his blade. After sending Oichi ahead of him in death, Katsuie cut open his own belly. At the same time, he ordered the gunpowder stores in the castle tower to be set ablaze. The explosion tore through Kitanosho Castle, and the fortress crumbled into ruin. While Shibata Katsuie and Hideyoshi had been locked in their standoff, Oda Nobutaka had made one more desperate bid for power, raising his army a second time. He tried to threaten Hideyoshi's rear, but once again, fortune was not on his side. His older brother Nobukatsu had been waiting for exactly this moment. He swiftly led a large army and surrounded Gifu Castle in no time. Brothers of the same blood, sons of the same Oda clan, pointed their blades at each other. With Shibata Katsuie's death at Hideyoshi's hands, the last pillar Nobutaka had been leaning on crumbled away. He was now completely isolated inside Gifu Castle. With no ability left to fight, Nobutaka surrendered to Hideyoshi for the second time. He gave up Gifu Castle and placed himself at Hideyoshi's mercy. Hideyoshi and Nobukatsu then sent Nobutaka to a place called Noma on the Chita Peninsula in Owari Province. The choice of Noma was no coincidence. It carried a dark and deliberate meaning. At the end of the Heian period, Minamoto no Yoshitomo, the leader of the Genji clan, had been assassinated by a treacherous Kashin at that very same location. It was a place where, since ancient times, lords were killed. Sending Nobutaka there was no different from a death sentence, issued in silence. And sure enough, once Nobutaka was confined at Daimadoji Temple in Noma, the order came for him to take his own life. Nobutaka never forgave Hideyoshi, not even in his final moments. His hatred went beyond simple resentment. Nobutaka believed that Hideyoshi had actually been involved in his father Nobunaga's death. Immediately after Shibata Katsuie's defeat, daimyo rushed to send congratulatory envoys to Hideyoshi from all across the country. Every one of them could feel which way the winds of the Sengoku period were blowing. Now only one question remained before Hideyoshi. Can I truly become the master of all Japan? Hideyoshi sent letters to daimyo across the nation, demanding their submission, and one by one, the most powerful lords in Japan swore their allegiance. Mori Terumoto, the great power of the West, Uesugi Kagekatsu, Ukita Hideya, Maeda Toshie, they all bent the knee to Hideyoshi. As for Uesugi Kagekatsu, he was the adopted son of Uesugi Kenshin. Kenshin had never married and had no children of his own, and when he died without naming an heir, his clan was thrown into chaos. Kagekatsu was the man who sorted out that chaos and emerged as Kenshin's successor. He may not have been quite the legend his father was, but Kagekatsu was still an exceptional military commander. The fact that he had seized control of his clan during such turmoil proved he possessed sharp judgment and decisive action. In 1583, Hideyoshi began construction of a massive castle in Osaka. He chose the exact spot where the Ishiyama Honganji Temple Fortress had once stood. It was a strategic gold mine. It sat at a critical junction for sea transport through the Seto Inland Sea. It was close enough to Kyoto to have influence over the capital, yet independent enough to serve as its own center of political power. Tens of thousands of laborers were mobilized, and enormous stone walls rose from the earth in a construction project of staggering scale. Osaka Castle was not just a military fortress, it was a statement. It declared that this was no longer the age of the Oda clan. This was the dawn of Hideyoshi's era. The Jesuit missionary Louis Frois described the grandeur of Hideyoshi's Osaka Castle in vivid detail in his supplementary notes to the annual report on Japan. He wrote, Hideyoshi's wealth and success had completely surpassed his predecessor Nobunaga. This new fortress easily outshone anything Nobunaga built to display his power. It featured iron-covered gates and a massive central tower, deliberately adorned with gold and bronze to project absolute authority. Inside, there were beautiful seasonal gardens and a stunning golden zashiki, a grand reception hall overlooking an elegant river. But Louis Froist did not stop at praise. He also left a far harsher observation about Osaka Castle. He wrote that it was steeped in sexual excess and vice, with some 300 women swarming inside the castle Hideyoshi had built, making it closer to a brothel than a fortress. If you enjoyed this episode of our Sengoku series, a like helps it reach more history fans. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next episode. Let me know in the comments which moment hit you the hardest. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.